Welcome, crypto enthusiasts, to the Independent Reserve Podcast.
Finally, we're back. Independent Reserve Podcast has been away for a little while, but it's been worth the wait because we have Joshua Roy, CEO from Labrys Technologies, all the way down from Brisbane to finally come and have a chat to us. It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to track you guys down, but finally we have you, so welcome.
Yep, thanks. Good to be here. Happy to be around finally. As you said, you've been chasing this one for a little bit.
I have. So you guys have been around too. I know you're going to do an introduction about Labrys and everything you guys do. For the uninitiated, 2017 you guys have been around, but you're building the next level, next layer of infrastructure really. Blockchain, AI. If there's a Web3 business in Australia, you guys have had your hands involved in it in some way, shape or form. So I'm super curious to see, first of all, how the business started, your journey, and also like how you've seen this segment that you work in, how it's grown, how blockchain's grown, how the businesses that are taking on that technology, but also AI, right? It's huge. That's a lot. So where do we start? Let's start with you.
Cool. Well, we'll start with the business. We'll start with the business. So Labrys, for the uninitiated, is a software development agency and consultancy that specializes in cutting edge technology. And for a long time, that was blockchain. The business was actually founded out of QUT specifically by Lachlan Feeney, the founder, and it actually started as a product company. Originally, we're looking to bring lending and financial systems on the blockchain back in 2017. Unfortunately, didn't quite get it figured out. However, after that platform kind of launched and they were getting all that stuff down, they went, actually, we're now just experts in blockchain with what we had to figure out. And we've kind of just been helping founders and existing businesses understand the technology and leverage it properly. I say properly because that was realistically the first few years is people coming to us, we want to use it. And, we just said, well, probably not there, maybe over here. And that was really where our bread and butter was for many, many, many years until the technology started to mature. We've kind of just sat in that zone where a group of project managers, developers, and we just, businesses come to us, whether they're at ideation or they're looking to innovate, and we just support them where necessary. My background is actually very technical. It's not super business, so you won't have me here sitting there selling and talking about that stuff. Obviously, I understand business, but my background actually is automotive industry and building products and software over there, and a bit of a financial background. And one day, I was really just bored with fintech in general. Just kind of scoped out what is blockchain, was this new creative thing, and then kind of joined in on Labrys. Got my hands in every single project and innovation that we did, from GameFi with Shrapnel, if anyone that knows back then, through to building with Swell Network and all of the e-staking, to doing even Ethereum Foundation based stuff, and then eventually I've been leading the ship since 3 years ago now. So
and just to give people a flavour of the type of work you do, can you list and outline maybe a few of the projects you guys have been working on? Some of the notable ones.
Cool. So especially in Australia, some of the bigger clients we've built. As I said, some years ago we actually helped Swell Network originally with their staking protocol. So we actually built that entirely, all the blockchain infrastructure. They had just over $1 billion locked in there. Some of the more recent stuff and fun stuff we've done. So we built the Petra Staking Manager when the Petra application came out for the blockchain. So an open source application to, again, help manage staking with a new Petra upgrade. So there's a whole bunch of creative and fun things that we can go down later if you want to hear about it. We have worked with the likes of Peer2, again, another Brisbane-based company. And they now actually were recently acquired by Bitmine and all of their infrastructure there. I think they're the largest validator infrastructure provider, full stop now, and obviously all American based. There's the funny thing is the industry kind of goes in waves. So last year we worked with a whole bunch of gaming things. So a few games that such as Spectre, who are like A16Z backed. They went through a whole GameFi phase last year. Through to this year, we're working with Ray White in fintech and trying to make sure that they're at the cutting edge of financial technology and real estate. through all the way to MSJA, a large corporation that of lawyers that deal with property settlement in the commercial space and helping ensure that they're capable of surviving the fintech landscape of this year and how it evolves and the like. So my brain is super wide because we've just touched almost every industry that you can think of.
And I'm fascinated to know, I know you mentioned some big names there, but in the Aussie market, I know you've worked with Hashlock Crew, worked with, as you mentioned before, the Peer 2 Group. You've done some stuff with NZDD. You've done some stuff with Mesfi. Some names that most of the local guys would know. But you guys are now expanding internationally, which is great. You're working with not just Australian names, but you're working with international names as well.
Yeah. So it kind of goes again where the market goes with regulation. We actually were quite heavy on the European side 4 or 5 years ago. Time zone sucks, but thankfully that kind of migrated its way down to the US, supporting a lot of US businesses over there. A lot of the GameFi stuff we actually did is out of US, so a lot of them are working with US-based companies like Red Bull and the likes. And we're actually now trying to pull ourselves back down into the local market. Because I think, Australia's always been a little bit behind the ball in the US, but we're at least now starting to see the opportunity being captured, especially with the likes of AI. People are now more empowered to go, what, I've got ideas, I want to conceptualize them, formulate them, test them. Now we just need some expertise to just get things across the line, get things to market, let it mature and find the pathway around to make business out of code or software.
Yeah. And since you guys, the business was founded and over the journey of the, I guess, sort of 9 years you guys have been up and running for now?
Yeah.
Really? Like, have you sort of noticed the general change in attitude and knowledge of the customers and the types of customers that you've faced over that time?
Yeah, that's actually a really good and interesting question. I think it goes with what the cutting edge technology currently is and the general understanding of it. So especially like blockchain, as I said, is kind of mostly what we've done over the many years. We've definitely gone through this very interesting transition, which has kind of finalized itself last year, where, the project we were working on 6 years ago, people just had no idea. What is this thing? We know we want to explore it. We know we need it. Most people actually didn't need it, and they were trying to jam it in where it wasn't supposed to go. But they go, okay, well, we just need problem solvers. Like we're business, we bring in the problem solvers and we make a good combination of things, and we just kind of acted in there. Over time, as blockchain's kind of matured and all of these complexity layers have been removed, it's now started to become fintech in general. So you've now got these founders through the start of last year onwards that have a lot more understanding of the technology and know what they want. They just need that scalpel to come in and basically dissect exactly where it is and just get the work done. So no longer are we having to educate people. We just get to sit down and go, let's have a great chat, and then we help them kind of refine the idea, not create it. And they're cool. Let's execute.
Amazing. So the Ray White real estate, if we can pick on that, they're a property business, and they kind of come to you and like, we know we need some things here, here, and here. You're the experts. How can you build this concept that we're looking for, and can you guys build it for us? Can you also kind of tell us, refine our thinking on it? Is that kind of the conversation you have?
Yeah, more or less. They already know what they want. They're just like, okay, well, how do we get there? And are the little details and the tweaks in the right spots? So we more or less go, yep, no, like you've got 90-something% of the idea there. Let's flesh the details because we just know how to build software. Like that comes in our expertise of years of building software in general, and not even specifying where the technology sits. We just go, cool, tweak it, build it, ship it realistically.
Fascinating. And how big's the operation now? Like how big have you grown over that time?
We're about 35 people at the moment. Nice. Majority of that are developers. We've got a few project managers, a few designers, product leads, but the bulk of the workforce is developers. We've got a few salespeople in the mix there.
I always run into them at various events. Emilio was, I'm sure you'll listen to this at some point. Thank you for organising this. Now, okay, so a little bit topical. So as we're recording this today, it's the 13th of May. We just had the budget handed down last night. And one of the big changes in that particular budget was around changes to CGT, right? And the big thing that's kind of on my mind and probably a lot of people's mind is how that might impact the tech sector, right? So the removal of the 50% CGT discount, and everyone's saying, well, look, hey, if you're a strapping young entrepreneur who's ready to go and take on the world, like, I don't know, maybe you part of the Labrys crew, and you've grown this business from 0 to 35 people over the case of 35 years. Business is great. You're expanding internationally. How does something like that? How does something like this? I'm not necessarily asking for your opinion on tax policy, but how do you think this affects future business people who are going to start up and do more investment in Australia? Do you think this impacts it, and do you think maybe will this be how will this impact the local scene?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think a lot of the quick opinions that I've even heard messaged and sent to me this morning are probably a bit overacting on it. They're super scared. I think generally speaking, when people get the fear of maybe like any kind of impact is bad impact. Look, I think in isolation, it will make people a little bit more tentative about where the movements of assets and money goes in general, like most changes in those things. However, I don't think we will notice it. And one of the bigger reasons is because we're already going through this turning point of, building and starting business is so much cheaper than it used to be. So we're already going through the understanding of people can now do whatever they want with whatever they have. So even if you're concerned about losses or not having the capital to kind of move around to begin with, things are just cheaper in general. So I think we actually probably won't. That's a
really interesting take. I've not heard that, and we're referring to the fact that AI now can help you build things just so much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. So really,
and more cheaper, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I say it very tentatively, but I get to say this one number because my developers openly admit it. But between you and me, it's actually a lot more. But my developers will happily even tell you from last year alone, they are somewhere between 3 to 4 times faster at just doing things.
Well, our dev guys said the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the amount of the trivial sort of bits of code that you can now get Claude and stuff to write for you is just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like, I use it for everything now. It's like I prepared this meeting by asking Claude, going, hey, can you go and do some research on Labrys Technologies and see what it comes back with on top of what I already knew? Like, do you know what I mean? And it came back and I didn't have to do anything.
And the answer to that is, well, now you can have 4 or 5 times as many guests on and be fully prepared for it. So it won't really hinder you from doing more. You'll do more naturally. And even if you just arbitrarily say, well, okay, you've got some compliance things that are going to take 10% more of your time. Well, you're already doing so much more. People won't even notice that loss.
Yeah. It's like a graduate that just sits in your pocket that you can get it to do a bunch of stuff for you that you don't want to do yourself.
Yeah, well, I'd even to some degree argue a graduate's probably underselling it, but we might go down a bit of a rabbit hole there.
Yeah, an experienced worker that kind of is just now it's everything from your PA to your analyst to your number cruncher. I throw in numbers in all the time and go, spit me out a report that gives me this and do the data for me. And you can kind of sense check it and you kind of know if it's done the right thing, but it's saved you that hour of manual kind of processing time to put all the things in yourself.
Yeah, well, I think, one of the things I did actually with a company early last year, which turned out to actually be a really great timing to do it, is I went through a bit of a business plan and structure just to kind of map out the business as to what it was today, and focused in on what roles we should have, what people's responsibilities and accountabilities were, and made sure that everyone in the business knew, just so we could tighten our operations and be better. Like I'm a perfectionist. I'm always pushing everyone to be the best that they can. And this was my approach to kind of making sure people were being where they needed to be and where they're most efficient. And then as we went through this transition of AI last year, I realized that I actually had mapped out exactly where we wanted people to focus their human efforts on and their AI efforts on, because the answer actually ended up being throughout last year is telling everyone, look at where you're accountable or where your accountabilities are and your responsibilities are. That's where you are. Anything you're consulted in, anything you're informed, anything you're just kind of doing, that's actually for AI to take on. And some of our developers literally have a laptop with AI just running independent in its own environment, and it's just they literally had just on paper where their focus should be, where their context in their human mind should be fitting. And for reference, actually, I encourage every business owner to go through that process rather than blanket shoving AI to where it goes. You get returned multiple times.
It's a really interesting take. This is, I guess, a little bit parallel to it, but I heard a great argument, and it was around what AI is just a tool, right? And in the day, it's just a tool. It's not here to replace people, but kind of accelerate the human capacity, right? It's like a human getting on a bike. It just means you can go further faster with less effort, right? You know what I mean? You've probably seen the Steve Jobs comparison about his view of technology in general and why having a personal computer was so important in the first place, is that he saw, and I think I've made this comment before, I'll do it again because it's such a good analogy. He said, okay, someone had the idea of measuring humans versus animals in terms of how much energy they needed per amount of distance they gained. And a human was really inefficient, right? And the condor or whatever was just the best. But then they kind of got the person and said, well, what if we took that person and then measured the same sort of thing, but put them on a bike? And all of a sudden the human was just the most efficient thing, right, in the kingdom and in the animal kingdom. And this is kind of like AI, right? It's just another tool, a really advanced tool that just can make humans super, super more efficient. And to follow it up with another example, someone was explaining to me, and I'd love to get your view on this as well, just in the context of making your business better. He was sort of saying that, like, do you remember when? Well, actually, neither of us remember this because we weren't around. But his analogy was when, for example, the photo cameras first came out. You know, the back ones where you put the thing and you probably set yourself on fire, but it would take a photo. And once the cameras first started coming out, they noticed that a shift in art occurred from that time, right? Because people prior to that time were sort of obsessed with, when you did a picture, you'd kind of represent reality. You'd kind of get things looking live. You wouldn't get too abstract with your art. But once the camera came out, they're like, you know what? We don't need to kind of worry about doing actual oil paintings of a scene anymore, because a camera can do that for us, and we can't even do it as well as the camera. So what happened with humans? They started getting more creative. So abstract art, started emerging, right? And humans just got more and more creative because they're kind of like, a technology, a tool can kind of do that. We're built for a lot more than that. And abstract art and all this kind of things started coming out there, which enriched, I guess, culture, right? It changed how we thought about, the world around us. So it kind of took away manual labor and kind of allowed us to focus on creativity and new things, right? And who knows exactly where all that sort of abstract art led to, but I'm sure it did more than it did something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And there's another great, do you remember it's just on the internet, it went wild. There's like Angine de Portrain. Did you ever see that clip? And it was these guys who had these like polka dot suits, and they were playing a guitar and a drum, and he had the guitar and the bass and the same thing there, and like a microtonal guitar. And it was using that as another example, going, hey, why is this so addictive? Because it's kind of this weird music. It's kind of like, because this is a human that AI, this is some sound, something artistic that AI could never have come up with. It's new. Yeah. And it's like only a human could have come up with this. So it's kind of like, some humans doing some really cool stuff. And they're going like, this is the big point with AI, is that it kind of forces people to go, we need to get to a new level of creativity, a new level of thinking, a new level of whatever, right? Because the mundane robotic work can now be done by AI. Mm-hmm. Man, that's a long way of...
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in there. But
you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, this is actually the fun topic. And obviously, I'm no philosopher, and we start to go...
but please, I want to hear you.
However, there's actually a few things, and I won't spoil some of it because we actually have an article on our website, because I've been talking about the first part of your message there quite a lot. And one of my developers actually pointed out that I was actually referencing a paradox, and I just didn't actually know the name of it and the reference to it. But it actually commonly happens, and it's currently referenced a lot when it comes to traffic in the US. Like they have a big problem where everyone goes to side streets, and then they build out the highways, and everyone goes back to the highways, and the traffic jam moves around. And the first thing that we get with AI is that the paradox, and I actually forget the name now, but it's basically everyone just assumes that once things become really efficient, the original thing that everyone was buying, the people will just stop buying it. But it's actually the opposite. Once things become more and more efficient, people find new ways to use it. So you actually get more of it, and the demand just sucks in what you actually have there. So it's always an interesting thing that mathematically I was like, people are going to do less of something, and it turns out no, that you give them efficiency, they have the room to be creative, and they will just run with that concept naturally, because AI as it currently stands is trained off of existing things. It's actually not capable of being creative. I'm sure any entrepreneurial person that was looking to become one, the first thing they went to do is start speaking to AI about like, oh, where can I build business? Where's the opportunity? And we'll be honest, AI is not very good at finding opportunities that are yet to be found.
Yep.
And if it probably provides you one, there might already be a solution out there that you're going to have to battle against. But yeah, humans are obviously creative in nature. We have limitations. AI doesn't have limitations. It's essentially the opposite of what we are. We have trained it, but it covers all of our deficiencies. And I guess to probably not sway and segue too hard, I was even speaking to another business owner last week when I met up with them, discussing about what do we view as AI in organizations in general, because I did kind of talk about how we implemented it last year. We've kind of stopped the concept of chasing efficiency. Like, because there's no point, some of my developers are 4 times faster, some of them are 6 times faster. AI is a tool. Some people are really good at leveraging tools, some aren't. You kind of let it sit where it sits and they'll grow on that. I now actually completely focus our AI internally on context as a person. So as an example, the simple one I go with, I don't walk up to my project manager and ask him for a status update anymore. I ask his AI for the status update because it's capable of giving me that information. Because if he's managing, let's say, 5 projects at a time, me asking him a question is a 6th project. And his limitation now is his context hopping between things. So I need to keep him stationary on that, and we now go, okay, well, AI is not like efficient. He can give me that answer on the spot. We're not really going to create anything, but his brain has to hop back. Is just removing his ability to hop around. So we're now focusing on basically holding and saving and protecting people's context in their mind, because like coding, as an example, is not the bottleneck anymore. It's their brain to be creative to solve the problem that hasn't been solved yet, and therefore I cannot interrupt that thing.
That's fascinating. I love this. I love the take on this. And you guys, I guess, particularly are more aware of AI's capability and so you guys, again, probably a little bit on the frontier of like how to apply this technology for the betterment of at least your business and your people. It's a great tool.
Yeah, I've obviously asked this a lot, and I'm sure most businesses are probably already know the answer to it. But surprisingly, I've asked the question of what is your AI strategy as a business a fair few times to different businesses, and a lot of people surprisingly don't have a good one, or are kind of just forcing
I can imagine that.
And I think I probably underappreciated how complicated that question actually is. But I actually thought when Jensen from NVIDIA got up and said everyone needs like an open core strategy, all businesses were going to come up with their own. But yeah, surprisingly people don't. However, Labrys as a business, we've actually already had one. We've technically actually coming up to the end of that strategy and needing to find the next one. But it's actually not internal efficiency. That just happened to the side. We actually created another version of what Labrys would be if I started it today, and it is completely or majority AI driven. And the idea was, how far can we push this thing? And we had some people inside the fence saying 99% of software agencies will be completely demolished from AI, and then others were like, no, like it can only do so much. We actually know the answer to that one because we actually have an end-to-end business now that runs on AI, and we have one guy that kind of runs it. But he has his limitations. He still needs to be where he can't be. But yeah, like the cutting edge where we went through the entire process of building the entire business in my mind into an AI entity. And it is out there for anyone that wants to find it. And for anyone that actually knows us, will probably actually be able to find it on LinkedIn from the product lead that I put at the head of that. But yeah, it's we are definitely at the front of it. And it is very fun. It's actually, I think I've never seen someone work to like 3-4 a.m. in the morning constantly, because he's just so excited about what he can do. And
that's incredible. It's really incredible. And it's really fascinating way to think about it. I mean, your point before, if I've understood correctly, you kind of said, look, it's there's software companies that use it. It's not that we'll not need software developers. It's just that they're going to produce a lot more. And there's just going to be a lot more stuff that's going to get happened. So I guess the kind of logical conclusion there is that just more change is coming. Right? There's going to be just more. The pace of technological change is just going to continue to exponentially increase, right? Yeah. And the result's going to be arguably just more product, better product, faster change of product, faster evolution of things.
You get to build like what you need to, like, because the old traditional software cycles really were like longer term builds, and then you had to go through a testing phase, and you had a longer term build again. Now it's you get it to market, you test it, you build what you need to, and then you put realistically the cost of building where it needs to be. Like you can prototype something instantly, you can test the theory instantly. You just basically need the user to prove it. I was speaking to a VC this morning about this exact topic, because they're now going, well, we're not going to fund anything that hasn't been tested, because people are so empowered now, entrepreneurs are so empowered now that you should be able to provably say, like, there's a hole in the market, and I've got this people that just confirmed it with my prototype. No, I can't ship this and sell it. Can I get funding for that? But like, you shouldn't be going to a VC with an idea anymore. You should have like fully tested.
Yeah, because there's no reason that you shouldn't have done with all the tools that are now available to you.
Exactly. It empowers everyone to get things. And I won't shy away from it. I very much encourage founders and entrepreneurs to get out there and build. And in most cases, you know, my business now is here when they're ready to go through that next stage.
Right. So that fascinating stuff. So for you, I guess you're seeing before things come to market, you're kind of got that front row seat to the production line. You're seeing what's coming up. Can you give us a bit of insight into what's the things that are going to happen next? Let's go like sort of a 12-month sort of time horizon.
12 months. So I think the biggest shift to kind of look at is, interestingly, in cybersecurity, and the people that are really like in the storm of it will know this already. Cybersecurity is actually rapidly changing, and I was actually speaking to the Hashlock guys about this back in March, and even gave my 2 cents on where their business model even may need to potentially move to. And I think they were like, yeah, interesting. I'm keen to actually catch up to this and see how that resonated. But we're now having to structure and build systems likely to go, okay, when will it be hacked? Not like how will it be, or if it will be, when will it be hacked? Like, how do we ensure that, you know, the radius of that is not too impactful, and things aren't exploited and businesses die? So now software development is just assuming like someone's going to get control of this now, like, and it just almost changes the way you go about it, because you've got this combat of like rapidly build and make sure it's super secure, and those always have like battled each other. But you know, with AI-based tooling, hackers no longer go after the big ticket items. They can just go after whatever they want.
And go after whatever, because it's just constantly out there.
Any small business is at risk of being attacked, especially in the near future. So that will be, I think, a lot of the big tech focus of how do we secure things. And I think that may actually consume the ecosystem as a whole, at least once we hit like this turning point of get it dealt with.
It's really fascinating. I know Nick on our weekly sort of newsletter was talking about this same exact issue, going with AI. It's kind of like you can use it to test for bugs, and you can also use it and for good or for bad. And so there was like the Kelpdow hacker recently, and then there was someone found some code in like the what was called the kernel for Linux, like some basic operating stuff, and that code had been reviewed a gajillion times. Yet AI was like, well, by the way, and everyone's kind of like, I didn't see that, right? And so people can use AI to go through and just look at this long tail of potential exploits to kind of find weaknesses. And so this, to your point, right, and this is exactly the kind of thing that you're seeing now, is that most people are kind of go, oh shit, that's true, that's going to happen. So you kind of have to assume that because North Koreans all now have access to AI and looking over everything, and of course they're going to, if there's a weakness, it's going to get exploited.
Yeah, it's 100%, and it's already, like, honestly, it's already happened. Obviously, last year the amount of hacks and exploits, and it was just mind-numbing, just how much we were bouncing around, like even to some basic packages that are constantly used in software tooling in general. We had to run around patching that constantly with some of our existing and even older clients. And that is only going to continue until realistically the things that everyone sits on top of slows down enough to go, okay, well, we have to make sure we're as hard as stone or granite, and the creative speed doesn't touch any secure things. But to some degree, I think a lot of people are also going to learn, how many secrets are you revealing to your AI agent constantly that it is in fact retaining and 100% is sharing with someone else. Everyone already remembers the original Copilot AI, when you used to go private key equals in code, and it would just auto assume what you're going to type, and it was someone's private key that it had picked up. That kind of stuff is like the low level funny stuff that will continue to come out. But yeah, that's likely, like if I said like what software development and technology going to be, like that'll just be the giant focus, the giant elephant that everyone is dealing with in the next 12 months, irrespective of anything else.
Yeah, right. So so the number one thing is basically security. What are the sort of what are the changes that we'll see then maybe over the longer term? What's the kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Put on your well, you can't put a crystal ball on, but look into your crystal ball and let's go out maybe a few further years. 5 years time, more and more people have developed their AI strategy, and AI is now probably fully integrated in a lot of businesses. What can we expect to see in that world?
Yeah, it's a good one, and I think my opinion does come a little bit conservative, but I think I back it. I've been backing this one for more than a year now, and normally if I say if my opinion doesn't change in more than a year, then I'm probably pretty solid on it. But look, I think even 5 years, 5 years is hard to predict, but more than a year from now, people will hopefully not be doing things that they find boring, like what I just generally refer to as paperwork is gone. Entirely. So the things that you're doing are the things you have to think about for more than 5 seconds. So people, I think, generally get a lot more job satisfaction with what they're doing. Ideally, people will in turn not be hired into jobs that they're miserable at and get the opportunity to actually find the things like the zones that they want to be in. I think it's very rare that people unfortunately get the opportunity to find what they enjoy doing, what they're passionate about, what that wakes them up and keeps them happy. I do think the unfortunate reality of like kind of these extra jobs disappearing or efficiencies being taken back up the chain will kind of take that away. But when someone's sitting there going, okay, well, I don't sit there photocopying things 24/7. What am I going to do? They actually get to start to reflect and like away from the grind of the day to day and get into the zone that they've always wanted to be in. Then they may have actually not had the opportunity to do because the overhead of getting into or the barrier to entry is really harsh. But you can just now do whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want. And I think just people will just end up with superpowers to the nth degree. And the only difference between like maybe 1 year to 5 years is that I think the general public will become aware of it and be able to leverage it. Because currently, let's just say in a year's time, all of my company has amazing superpowers in technology and all that. Like, let's just assume that the general public won't have access to it. But that would be my hope, is that like that just is now available to everyone because it's so efficient. An example of what I expect even to be the really cool stuff is I forget the exact company's name. People that deep in the tech will know. It's called Jimmy something. There's a company over in the US that decided to push ASIC chips, CPUs in AI to see, okay, if we made a CPU very specifically designed for one AI model, what does that look like? And it is blazing like instant, like billion tokens on the spot. And that technically unlocks the ability to put AI chips in whatever. Like you could have I guess in theory, a tissue box that like tells you, hey, you've used 10 tissues. Do you have a cold? Like maybe go to the pharmacy or something. It's like crazy. That won't happen, but it's just an thought. But it kind of unlocks, like it's now cheap to have AI where you want it.
Well, I guess nowadays you can almost build your own app. You could ask it to code your own app where you said, hey, I just want to tell you what I want for my groceries this list, and I want you to go and you can connect it up to some apps or whatever, and you can go and order all your food for you and have it delivered at a certain time. You can just be like, hey man, I just want my stuff at this time, and AI can kind of go, here you go, here you go, I've told it what to do, and all of a sudden now the thing's delivered. All of a sudden that hour and a half or 2 hours I spent getting groceries is now just delivered because I spoke to it while I was doing something I enjoyed. Right?
Yeah.
And this is the world that we can potentially inhabit, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it is. I said like
being very positive about the role of
AI. All the paperwork is gone. It'll be very interesting to see what the human interaction side of it will be. I think people have already been speaking about this for a little bit now, but I know many people like going down the road to chat to the local store and support like a local business and chat to the owner. And I think like a lot of those thoughts of like, you won't have to do anything, it'll like food will just show up at your door, and I don't think that will happen. Like I think people will want more and more human interaction as that happens. But is that like all of the mundane, boring things like gone from your life? You can now, what do you do at the time? The things you enjoy doing. So like, naturally people will find it very difficult to have this transition. It'll be almost like, because it's just moving so fast, people are just like, what do I even do with all of this? But yeah, as I said, in 5 years, my hope and I'd expect is people are just empowered to be, I guess, happy in general.
Yeah, and look, I've got to ask at some point. I mean, I'd be interested to see. I mean, we've spent a lot of time talking about AI in particular. It's the vogue thing. Tying it back to, I guess, something we're a bit all familiar with, blockchain technology and crypto. We probably have to talk about how there's a natural interaction, and maybe talk about how those two, first of all, interact, and how that technology is going to be, I guess, entwined into this utopian future where we have more time to be human and less time to be robots, thanks to AI.
Yeah. So blockchain, obviously, I talk about it a lot. That's just how tech is at the moment. But blockchain, fantastic technology. Obviously, I think the world is not even remotely leveraging it where it could be. And I always talk to people in different industries that haven't even touched blockchain about how they should be leveraging it for the better of humanity. And I think that's the very specific thing is blockchain is still the technology that helps people. It still, empowers people to do things when they previously didn't, and basically ensures that they keep their value with themselves. So blockchain as a technology, amazing, fantastic. I really hope that, we keep moving in the direction that we are. Even in Australia, we're a little bit behind, but I have also always said that Australia is actually probably one of the poster children for we actually probably need financial technologies to adopt blockchain the least. We still do, let's be honest, it still large benefits, but there are other countries that deserve it a hell of a lot more than us. But yeah, it is moving in the right direction. Like there's a big push for obviously stable coins, which is always step one: get the stable coins in place. Then you can start to adopt the financial infrastructure here and there. But my hope would be once the finance stabilizes and we're using it properly, we can then start to focus on using blockchain for cooler stuff than simple fintech, because blockchain is just so capable in many different ways. That's a very abstract thing to say, but
I totally get it. I guess outside of the the stablecoin space, which everyone wants to talk about, or RWAs, which is just about securing financial matters. There is obviously a lot of stuff in applications to just personal data and all this other kind of stuff as well. So outside of the payment side of things, which is probably the most obvious use case for stablecoins, and having a AI, having like using the Woolworths example, being able to securely transfer funds to pay for your groceries, to have AI organise how to get it all to your door, right, is a pretty simple kind of use case. But I guess also things, and I'd love to sort of talk about some of the applications you built non-stablecoin related. Everyone's talking about that, but what are the other things that people aren't talking about at the moment that are kind of really cool? Personal data or something like that?
Yeah. So there's been a few, like as the fintech is always like the first thing that happens with it. And as you mentioned, even just to touch on it and confirm, like blockchain is obviously the given payment rail for AI. Generally speaking, banks aren't going to let you just give your bank account over to an AI. That'd be a pretty bad move. But blockchain enables people to manage their own security, their own devices, so you can then start to do that. So it just makes sense. And there's new standards such as like X402, which help enable AI speak to existing infrastructure and backends and move its way around there in an autonomous way. But definitely in the extension of that, some of the use cases that we're still like, we get often the proposition of building, how would we design supply chain especially in Australia with the likes of like cattle and food in general, like the ability to have an immutable auditable trail of important things that you have to have that audit trail for compliance in government sectors. So those kinds of things like are still yet to adopt, but we like there's definitely there's interest out there. We're constantly throwing up like pricing and proposals and the likes to businesses all the time. Last year was a very big gaming push. People don't like video games that hold your assets and you pay them for something that's not yours. So naturally, basically, you take the biggest industries with money bounce around and you go, well, what are people getting when they pay for things? And if the answer is zero, they're just paying someone to pretend they own something. Everyone goes, let's put blockchain in there to bring them back. I think is also the big Varna, I think was a big a company that they're Australian based. I guess in theory, or at least their founders were Australian. We worked with them, and their idea was they actually built a blockchain where you could put your personal data on it, and then you could sell that data to train AI models and the likes. That was obviously, I at least kind of, when people asked me what it was, I was like, well, Facebook's already selling your data to train models. How about you sell it yourself instead?
I love that one. And I know the guys from the car. I remember one of the ones, particularly, I can't remember the name of the token or whatever they're looking at. Maybe it was Varna or something like that. But it just makes so much sense. And like for a token that to get people excited about, I mean, the concept of this is pretty powerful, really. When you go, hey, every day you come to work and you go across a particular way on your way to the office that day. Google's tracking that. Google then sells that to someone who's willing to buy it. And you go, that's great. Or like wherever you, obviously one being wherever you shop and all this kind of stuff. And it would be so good to be like, you know what, that's my data. You guys are making money on it. Obviously, you don't pay anything for their platforms, but you know, it would be great going, I don't mind if you have my data, but can I just get a cut of that?
Yeah, can I just get a benefit out of it? Yeah.
You can have as much as you want, but let me cut it. And some stuff maybe I don't want you to have. And I think that is, I mean, I think it's a simple way to put the non-financial aspect of blockchains that can be really powerful.
Yeah, there's also like some other really minor ones that I've spoken about, even for us to do as an open source internally and just ship it out there. The problem is like legal, like people have to adopt it. The two that I actually usually use that resonate with people is one of the ones, I think it was a year and a half ago, obviously in Australia you have to register your pets. So you have to microchip them and register them. The registers are actually owned by private entities. I think outside of New South Wales, I think New South Wales is actually the progressive one that has built their own in government, but they go to private entities. Now, if you want to update it, they obviously charge you. For all God, we know that gets hacked every other day as well. But there was one in Victoria. I think there was 2 suppliers off the top of my head. One of them closed down overnight, instantly, like gone. Pet data annihilated. And I'm sure the government subsidized someone to come in and collect that data. And let's be honest, it should have been on a blockchain. Like, is there privacy concerns? Yeah, we already have solved privacy on a blockchain. You can deal with that. But there's no reason why it's on a public ledger. People are just paying the cost of electricity or to run the network in gas. And now it's a public good, right? Like it's no need to privatize someone's like legislated data. And I can also go to the other side, like if people want to connect financially with it, being from the automotive industry and being a car guy myself, like how many times have you gone to buy a car and the logbook's gone missing, you know, and you're like, okay, well, like cars are in many cases people's largest asset, or in at least their second largest asset. So, you know, having your service logbooks on chain, verified authority and all the likes, you know, that protects people's assets and also protects people from buying from someone that's lying. And in saying another term, like if you're someone that's, you know, out there modifying cars, you know, the amount of time someone goes, oh yeah, no, like the engine's been opened up, we've done this to it. You're like, are you going to spend the 10 grand to open up that engine? No, hopefully they're not lying. But even like stuff like service logbooks, like there's no reason it's not private information. It should be there. You should be able to go and check, you know, was this car actually serviced on schedule before I'd, you know, dump my life savings into bringing it in? Like there's these use cases like that is just like, it should just be there and secured. And you know, at we're definitely past the precipice now where blockchain is no longer the scary technology. It is it's fintech. It's really easy to use. People don't need to ask us how to use it and the likes. So we're now at the zone where I shill it all the time to business owners, like, well, why aren't you using this? Like, this is a great idea. I'll build it for free. Like, you just got to adopt it. Because I'm like that, like maximalist on blockchain as a technology. And I think longer term, it will eventually find its way into things. It will, as these bigger companies are forced to get with the times and refresh their technologies. And then all of a sudden now they get the opportunity to add this layer in. So
that's fascinating. The story about the pet data place going under reminds me of a completely different business, and it's a total segue, but there was a business that was in their offering was to cryogenically just freeze people. So a bunch of people, after they passed away or whatever, they said, yeah, take my body, cryogenically freeze. And obviously we don't have a capacity to reanimate people just yet, but the bet was, look, we'll keep you frozen until such a time comes. That business went under. So I guess, you know, they don't mind because they're dead, but like, you know what happened to the bodies afterwards? They just got thawed out. They just, because no one looked at
that makes sense.
power.
Yeah. That's what you assume with that, actually.
And this is a gory detail, but I just told it because I think it might have been Adrian or someone who was talking about it. You know what happened to the bodies when you unfreeze a body that's been frozen for a long time, it basically just melts.
Mm.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I can imagine. I can imagine. You got all of those years of decomposition just happening in an instant.
In an instant,
Yeah. That's it is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But you raise a great point, and that is that blockchain and crypto, I guess now we've just seen this as an industry, for business like us that's kind of integrated into this and sort of basing its future on the fact that we think there's going to be more and more integration of this new technology. It's kind of fascinating because we kind of live and breathe this, and it's not a dirty word for us. And like for a lot of people who've been in crypto for a long time, or blockchain technologies, digital assets as it's now called, we're like, no, you don't understand. Like there's a really cool tech, and then we have to support the infrastructure to help us get to this new world where there's going to be businesses built on blockchain rails, and it's going to be good for everyone. Just trust us on this, right? And everyone is like, but look, dog with hat, Dogecoin, you guys are a joke, right? But funnily enough, it's that we've now, because there's a new toy, AI, and AI kind of, for whatever reason, came across in a slightly different way. People were kind of like, AI is cool. It never had the stigma attached to it that crypto and blockchain did. But now because there's a new toy, the other ones are kind of like, oh, blockchain, okay, you're just a regular asset these days. We don't care about you anymore.
Which is good, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a good thing, right? Kind of a good thing. There was there's a consensus in Miami.
Yeah.
Did you see there was, I don't know why I'm mentioning this, but there was that viral clip of some guy who was just like, he was just really drunk in the bar.
Another one, yeah.
And he's taking a piss on the bar table, and he falls over, wipes himself out. And it was kind of like I remember the image of that went around. It was kind of like embarrassing because, someone had written, oh, the crypto bros are down bad. And it's like, oh man, I thought we'd gotten away from this image of like lunatics just like who were just in it for the fast money and didn't really care about what was happening. Haven't quite got past it yet, but it seems that we're mostly past it.
Yeah, no, I think so. As I said, like the industry's kind of, I shouldn't say fully emptied itself out. I don't think it ever will, but it has really emptied itself out with the people just to get in there, get rich quick in the likes, because their attention is now over to the latest and greatest toy to play with. But yeah, it has allowed the maturity of the product to be out there now, which is it is generally a good thing, and people can start to use it. And I think we've also as an industry just gotten better at talking about it, like meme tokens previously. Like everyone used to be like, it's never going to be taken seriously without meme tokens. It's like, well, like I mean, people are still running around with Pokemon cards, right? Like it's the same thing. Like, and so it's okay for them to exist. But like when there's not too much distraction and too much noise, now we can finally go, well, yeah, actually, I kind of do want my payments to settle on a weekend when I'm talking B2B. I kind of don't want to pay the 10% fee to transfer funds offshore, and all those like the default talking points. The noise isn't too crazy now that we can actually go, yeah, let's actually do something about it. And I think that's, probably to some degree part of why I think I'm actually starting to see movement in Australia on those topics.
Yeah, completely. I mean, we just saw I haven't gone through it all. I'm pretty sure actually, no, it's not sure. I have read it, but not directly. I got I got Claude to kind of summarize it for me. Like Project Acacia stuff, right? That we're sort of seeing now. And we've gotten to the point where finally we don't have to sort of justify, like people who are in technology don't really have to justify why they exist, but it's now talking about, okay, finally you've come across, you've sort of seen what we've been talking about this whole time, and now let's move from the conceptual phase into, actually doing the things that we always thought it was going to do. And we see this now with BlackRock and the tokenization products. It's moved from concept into practice. And it's become normalized. And it's really, and it seems to me, and this is where I guess my question's heading, is it feels like now people have gone, okay, finally we get it. Everyone else kind of gets it now. It's like that 100 monkey thing where eventually everyone's just kind of, oh, shit, all right, there's a cool thing, we got to start doing it. And people are now actually starting to do the things that we've been talking about.
Yeah, we're not the weird guy in the corner.
We're not the weird guy in the corner anymore, just going, yeah. And the funny thing about blockchain,
that's exactly it. It does help that the likes of Stripe is really championing stuff at the moment. Like I think speaking to them 2 weeks ago, and they were saying that they're potentially even hiring like 80 developers in Sydney or something crazy to keep pushing it. They obviously have Tempo, their blockchain, and they've spent a metric ton of money in putting the infrastructure around that, and they're really even themselves championing that fact that like, well, actually, we want to operate without banks entirely. You know, we want multi-currency support. We want cross-border payments. Actually, why don't we just build a blockchain and put it on there? Like, they're doing all of that stuff, and it does help when we got big dogs like that supporting the movement, because like no longer are we trying to get the infrastructure together, talk to people that would do it. They're like, oh, we just have the funds, we'll just build it ourselves. But yeah, like we could now start shipping it. And
we saw just recently. I saw this in the news. You've got Paywood, which is that Kraken I can't remember, effectively Kraken-owned sort of investment arm, which bought Reap.
Yep.
Right, which is like an acquiring business out of Hong Kong, and it's kind of like you would have thought. Oh, I would have thought it's the payment guys buying the crypto deals. No, it's kind of actually going now the other way, where we're kind of seeing the crypto guys going to pay out the merging is on, right? The merging is taking place. It's now being absorbed, one and the same. It's only a matter of time now. It's not a matter of if, but when.
Yeah, exactly. And it's, you know, as I said, Australia's normally like 5 years behind the US. I think the US is like already kind of passing there. So, you know, we'll start to get catch on eventually. I think normally it takes like an administrative change federally, but then, you know, things move afterwards.
Yeah. I guess it really only takes one of the major institutions or whatever to kind of adopt it and kind of go, and then everyone sees it and kind of goes, oops, we're behind it. We're behind here. We've got to play catch up. And yeah, it all happens. All right, so back to Labrys, right? I've got to ask then, what's sort of the medium term plan for you guys? Like, where's the business at? What's the roadmap look like over the next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, good. I think you know, we've kind of just gone through kind of a brand refresh recently. You know, for people that have worked with us and know us, originally we were quite like startup vibey, and we still retain the same office. I still love the whole open office. People walk in and go, oh, like, is this a startup? I'm like, well, no, we just like, you know, they were tech guys. We just like the atmosphere that comes along with it. But yeah, we've kind of, as we've been speaking a lot about AI, obviously I have a lot in my brain. My developers have way more in theirs. We've started to kind of migrate and work on new technologies and stay at the cutting edge of things. So coming with that and the maturity of our foundations in blockchain, we've gone through a refresh on the branding. We're a lot more cleaner. Our services have kind of started to paint. Yeah, we actually do a bit of AI stuff these days. We're still product guys. We still love to help ideate, formulate a plan, and help business build through product. And that's still at the core what we do. We just go, you know what, we just work on cutting edge tech, and AI is just in there. And we're going to probably continue to do that. Look, there's a lot of product stuff internally happening under the hood still, like it always has been. We've kind of been getting an engine running there because, you know, longer term, we're so good at building product, and we're so good at going, you know what, God, we hate this, and we've just historically never just solved the problem ourselves. We kind of just will ship out a public good here and there. So you know, you might on the near horizon start to see some products coming out. But yeah, I think at least for the short term, currently, and I won't give any hints to it yet, trying to work out what our next AI strategy is. As I said, we've technically replicated an agency business and worked out exactly where the cans and cannots are of AI entirely, and I'd pretty much back that as a final decision and where it's going to be at. So yeah, I guess formulating our next AI strategy and product, and you might see our name around.
Well, I always see you guys around every time I've been to a conference anywhere. I always run into the Labrys guys. You have a great function actually on your website. I don't know whose idea was this, but I'm like, oh man, we need to do that. If you go to the website, you go to, I can't remember which page it was, but basically it had all the different events coming out throughout the year, and it has the team, I guess the main team that does client-facing work, and you click on the event and it highlights green who's going to be at each event.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, no, I
was that yours, or who
that
claim credit for it anyway?
Yeah, that was my idea. The Hashlot guys also stole it secretly.
Did they?
Yeah, but that is, you know, it's not my IP. You know, it is. I'm a decentralized guy, so anyone can take it. But yeah, no, I do always love it's when we're product people, right? Like every time I come with an idea, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna find an excuse to build it somewhere somehow. So yeah, if anyone's ever wondering where we are going to be on an event basis,
I like it.
hello.labrys.io. You can click on it and it'll just go, yeah, these people are doing here and all these kinds of things.
And the Hashlot guy stole it. Jock, I'm sure Jock's watching. I saw Jock because, as you know, every time I see him, I've got to talk because we all know in at least in Australia what he's most famous for.
what would that?
Karaoke.
Okay, well, yeah. There's a few things.
Okay.
Actually, on a complete side note, our booths in Singapore are actually side by side.
Yeah.
And I jokingly threw out there, I'm like, we actually should just put like a little karaoke zone between our booths, and I bet it'll attract a ton of people. Apparently, Fletcher saw it, Jock didn't, because when I was like, Jock, we actually probably should have done it. Like, it was half a joke. He was like, wait, you wanted to do that? I'm like, yeah. Fletcher vetoed it. But yeah. That's the one thing he is really, really good at, is building a crowd. I can confirm.
I know. I've made a joke with him 1,000 times that we'll do karaoke together. I think at the blockchain, the blockies, maybe it was 2 years ago now. I can't remember. I think it might have been 2 years ago. He finally got a wish. It's been years coming, but finally got the karaoke. I think everybody after the blockies down in Melbourne, I think it was last year before, I can't remember. Everyone got out there, and I got to see Jock in full motion. Jock, I hope you're watching. I did like, and I commented on your Instagram post. You know, I saw you. Everyone knows I've seen you in action. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Jock, but if you ever get a chance to do karaoke, it's quite the experience. All right, so tell me. Okay, so this is good. Like, with all the stuff that you're doing overseas, I'd love to get your input into sort of the differences you're seeing just across the market in general. You're going to everything throughout Asia. Where's all the activity happening? Where is the most exciting stuff happening?
Oh, exciting is a bit of a loaded term, but I might be able to break it out a little bit. One thing that surprised me at the start of this year was Hong Kong. Seems like a very hungry zone at the moment. They're actually a little bit, and I don't probably want to discredit them. They felt a little bit behind the other countries when I was talking to people. Like, they seemed very, very hungry to try things, to push things. But at least they were both on the cutting edge and not when it came to progression. US is booming. It's nuts. You can't. You know, they're leading the way of excitement on all fronts. But I think Hong Kong felt really, really hungry. Japan and Korea, not so much. I think they're weird because they're definitely tech hubs, and there are people that are hungry there. But I didn't you speak to one person, they're like kind of there because like that's just tech, and then there's others that are like, I want to soak up anything you're going to tell me right now. But I felt like everyone in Hong Kong was just at that level, and Singapore was just so busy that like it was hard to not talk about everything known to man. So I'm very keen, and we're actually putting a little bit of focus into having a presence over in Hong Kong more specifically, and talking to things over there, because I think they're kind of just ready to start launching, and they were previously obviously like a very, very large tech hub, and I think they're trying to push that. Very keen to also kind of see what Shenzhen looks like these days, just being across the border.
I've heard good things about Shenzhen. I've not been there myself, but we have plenty of staff who've been over there checking out, and they seem to be encouraged by what they're saying. The Korea and Japan one. So I would agree with all those things from what I've seen. I've been to most of those events as well, and Korea's kind of like, Korea and Japan are always a really interesting one, because like whenever I talk to Koreans, there's heaps of Koreans who are keen to do stuff. They're just not keen to do it in Korea.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Right. And so they're all doing it elsewhere. They're all doing it in Korea, in Singapore and Australia or Hong Kong, or they're set up out of somewhere else. Southeast Asia maybe as well, wherever they're doing it, they're all doing it. It's just they can't do it in Korea because it seems to be the country itself. I've got a view on why in Korea and Japan it's really tricky, and I think it's got to do a lot with just the historical makeup of those economies and the way the businesses gender operate there. As everyone knows, in Korea, for example, there's like 4 major companies and they do everything.
Very gate-kept.
Very gate-kept, right? And so it's very difficult for a new industry to break in. Same thing happened in Japan all through the 80s and 90s, and still kind of lingers to today, because they've got, funnily enough, I'm going to talk about it just purely because I was talking about it yesterday on our weekly dispatch, and it's kind of interesting that they have those. There's a close relationship between government and industry, but as a result of that close relationship between that, the reason there has been able to be that close relationship between governments and businesses grow is because they've only had a handful of businesses, and those businesses is generally sort of shared cross holdings between them all, and there's a bank in the middle, and they kind of just gatekeep. So as a result, you've got these big companies that do everything, but then innovation and everything else like that can suffer as a result of having these kind of large incumbents, and there's no room for the new guys to grow. which is you can kind of see that in reality of what we're seeing. So from our industry, it's like it's guys like you and people who've gone out there and just gone, I'm going to create a business, start from scratch. I'm going to have this new cutting technology. It's not like a bank trying to come up with this info. Imagine if the only businesses in Australia were like the banks and everything related to those banks, and like it'd be very difficult for like a startup business to kind of crack the.
Yeah.
What I mean?
It's very interesting. I actually referenced one of the conversations that was had with us in Japan, where we're speaking to a large company. I won't call them out, but they're very, very large over in Japan. And we're just speaking about the technology and what we've been doing. And they started telling us what they were thinking, and we we're getting excited, like, cool, like you want to do some cool stuff. And then the conversation more or less ended with, well, it's a shame you guys aren't Japanese in here locally. And then that was just it. Just like, I was, oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, you know what, if you ever wanted to touch base with us, but yeah, it's very, I think the market is just a very, very interesting one. Obviously they have a lot of trust in their own, brand as a country, and that might stifle a lot of things. But I guess I talk on speculation entirely.
No, it comes from a historical kind of the way the businesses historically come through. If I know, let me digress and tell you a bit of go on the history of like these both. So both Japan and Korea, I guess post Second World War, they were kind of really. Japan had been bombed into sort of submission. I mean, they really sort of copped it during the last days of the Second World War, and obviously the Hiroshima and Nagasaki were just kind of like the ones we know about, but like a lot of those cities and industrial base got absolutely wiped out through the end of the Second War. So they were starting off a really low base. Same thing, the Korean War ended in 1953, and again, it's the same thing. It was almost an agrarian-based society. It was like not a modern economy. And so for those economies to kind of grow from really what they were into what they are now, they kind of needed this close relationship and sort of a little bit of somewhat of a hybrid between sort of a genuinely capitalist society and sort of, I won't want to say communist society, but basically going, okay, here's where as a country we're going to get behind resources to make this thing a thing. So in Japan, there was like, first of all, they said we're going to focus on steel manufacturing, which then became an automotive thing, and then we're going to move up the value chain to like semiconductors and electronics, and they did that through this close relationship and this kind of business structure. But in Japan, if I use that as an example, what kind of happened was this close relationship between business, government, and industry, and sort of, I guess, the government departments meant that, and the way businesses were set up, it meant that kind of there was this kind of implicit guarantee between the banks that sort of sat at the middle of these financial conglomerates. And as a result, like, because our cross-shareholder, they all had an interest in making sure there wasn't much competition apart from the other sort of big financial conglomerates. So little guys, like service businesses, completely suffered. Right. And certain businesses just weren't allowed they didn't face any external competition because, Japan Inc, as it was sort of known, just meant that, no, we'll do it the Japanese way, which means that the foreigners, if you guys go and come in and compete with us, that's not good for us. So kind of, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It makes sense.
It makes sense, right? And we're kind of seeing that to this day. It's kind of funny that now, like, I guess a business that we're familiar with and at the coalface of going into new markets, we can kind of see the hangover of the way economies have been.
Is a really good way to metaphor it, but and then I guess us as like an industry coming in going, you know what, we're very big on removing authority where it doesn't need to be, and kind of becoming like one atmosphere, and removing the borders of everything, which is probably like a bit of a shock in all of that. But it makes sense. It's
kind of interesting, right? But extremely entrepreneurial people like in Korea, and it's just funny that from our perspective, those guys who wanted to do these sort of Web3 businesses and really shake things up, they just kind of have to do it elsewhere.
Well, I think even I remember my trip to Korea last year. I was walking through the big Hyundai mall, and they had I think it was SK was shipping like a big NFT gallery thing that they had. I'm like, wait, what year is it? Like NFT galleries, like it was all on the walls and everything. I'm like, God, like they're quite behind the times and in the industry there. And I think at some point surely they'll be forced to catch up, either that or
hook or crook. I mean, at the end of the day, the consumer always kind of decides, right?
Yeah, especially when the barriers to entry are just removed, and they at some point in time they won't want to lose out. But I think I tentatively keep an eye on those two countries, and go, you know what, the opportunity there to be involved in cool things is massive. But the raw effort, I think, at the moment is I'm just going to let it mature a little bit. It seems super immature as a market when it comes to blockchain, and therefore, I'll keep an eye on it while focusing on the ones that are just, they don't care. They'll be like, yeah, let's make it happen.
This is all a very big, long-winded way of introducing to ask you the question of like, well, what's your future international expansion plans look like?
Oh yeah, yeah. So definitely focusing on Southeast Asia. Obviously, that's kind of like a bit of a given there. So historically, before last year, we didn't attend Korea. We didn't go to Japan. We didn't even go to Hong Kong. So primarily finding a place that, if I answered the question, said like, would I put like a branch or an arm or a new office here, like picking that, and Hong Kong seems to be the way. So that's basically Emilio, our head of growth, is going, okay, here's our plan. And we're talking to a few different organizations that are in like government over there supporting exporting a business into Hong Kong from their side, and also in Australia exporting our services and businesses to other places like Hong Kong, and working out that. And then once we kind of get that a little bit stabilized as a function, we're then going to start to explore, okay, well, hopefully let's recheck where Korea and Japan at. Okay, maybe we'll then look at Singapore a little bit. And if Korea and Japan are starting to, I guess, be a bit more malleable, we might then put our focus there. But yeah, Hong Kong, like as an initial expansion, is basically what my focus entirely is.
Yeah, nice. And how do you rate, I guess, the local scene? How do we stack up against some of the main players? Like how you mentioned, the US is kind of where the vibe and they're the leaders. How far are we behind them?
Yeah. On like if I was to kind of just average everything out, pretty far behind. But Australia in general, it makes like a lot of the hypothesis you would have makes sense with just the fact that we're like quite a small country people wise. We just have like really low lows and really high highs, and it just depends where the tech innovation has managed to get off the ground. Where we are, we're like top of the game. Like you'll find big companies have come out in cutting edge tech in general out of Australia. It just ends up being nothing in between. Like there's no okay attempts to get breaking through.
You're either Atlassian or just
basically
three-man operation.
more or less. So I think that'll always just naturally happen unless Australia as an entity can figure out how to empower more founders to get off the ground. But no, I think when you talk about if something's managed to get off the ground, like we're top of the game. We're always in the discussion.
This is fascinating. I know we talked about this a little bit before, but basically, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's like there's no reason we shouldn't be a powerhouse.
No, yeah, absolutely. We actually have probably every capacity. If I was being like a full Australian maxi, we have the capabilities of being like the tech hub. Like, goodbye Singapore, goodbye Hong Kong. Like,
wow.
If I was going to be like super maximalist, like we have the capabilities, we have the people and the intelligence to do it. We're just like, Australia's obviously just not built on it. Like it's not coal, it's not gambling, it's not housing. So therefore,
what are we? This is the thing I don't get. I mean, we should be we should be like the richest nation in. We should be like the richest country in the world. We've got all these resources and all these talented people, and it just seems to be like, I don't know. Again, I shouldn't have made this political, but if Jim Chalmers is watching, which I'm sure he is, he's waiting. What are you telling the politicians to be like? Pull your heads out of your ass. Here's all we need to really turn us into the tech hub of Asia.
That's a very, very, very big and tough question. I think we already and I probably shouldn't spit on what exists too hard. Australia already does support founders and the likes in general. There are mechanisms in place to help people get off the ground. They're really unknown. We have people that still to this day come in and go, I want to build this. I'm like, are you guys getting the R&D tax incentive? Like, this is pretty cutting edge stuff. And they're like, what's that? And it's like, It's like, hang on, you can get 43% of your costs back. You know that, right? Here's a number, call this and talk to a consultant about it. Just even simple stuff like that is just, it's so confusing and bureaucratic to navigate. I think even what's there just needs to be easier to leverage, easier to find out, easier to do. Brisbane is definitely not good about it. Founders hubs and those they exist. There's just not many of them. Sydney, there's a fair few, but still the quantity is little. It's just remove the barrier to entry, and then build more things. So I think, first and primarily, it's just so confusing to navigate. People just don't even know what's available currently. Start there is probably the starting point. Otherwise, the answer becomes really, really, really big.
So the first things first is there is some good stuff there, just nobody knows about it. Okay, there's a good starting point. What would you like to see?
Oh, what would I like to see? I mean, the default answer is always going to be, can we just get more budget into these things in general? Like realistically, there should be like massive funding being pushed into ideas in general. Like, and we can probably start to paint it, like R&D style stuff. If you really wanted to go, Australia is now cutting edge only, but just like real money behind it. Like things are becoming cheap enough now that the government or large entities can now start just supporting without stripping away equity into to ideas and to people, like given the opportunity to build business. The idea of going, okay, if we as Australia wanted to be like the US, where our main export is like, let's say, software or IP in general, what does that look like? It's like, okay, well, we need people to start building IP. We don't need people to be out there grinding every single day just to survive. You need to actually put funding into it, be capable of going, okay, well, someone's brain that is very capable can now focus on like creating intellectual property that is worth selling, rather than focusing on where's my next dollar going to go in and attempting to buy a house or something that like cool but doesn't really support the
some incentives to allocate capital better.
Basically, more or less. If you want to, that's a nice short dumbed down version of it. Otherwise, just please put the money where it needs to be.
All right, sorry, I'm going to do commit the cardinal sin, and I've just got to make sure that I've got to communicate something to internally. Jared can edit this out later, or maybe you can just leave it in because he doesn't care anyway. Add some intrigue. You're in town this week for the conferences. You guys are going to be back for the DECA conference, I presume, in June?
Yep.
How, what's the word I'm looking for? What are you hoping to see this year?
Do you mean on like change in general?
Yeah, just in change in general for the local scene. How we...
Actually, interesting question. I haven't even thought about like what would I like to see locally. I think I'm already somewhat seeing it. My expectations in Australia in general, like it kind of has mellowed out. But I think like there are people out there doing the good fight. Generally speaking, there is research being done on how the financial system should be able to support better technologies, and there are more regulatory clarity around the likes of crypto coming out. So I think my wish list for Australia is actually probably not that big. It's like just keep pushing the good fight and don't let it stagnate, I think is actually probably it, because we went through so many years of not really much happening. So I feel like in the the last 6, 9, it's probably a little bit longer now, I've actually started to see some change and some clarity. I'm just like, cool, like I'm not gonna be greedy, I'm not gonna ask for more. Like let's just keep the pace. Like that's all I actually really care is just keep the ball rolling.
I think we mostly got with some of the stuff that's been brought in, like we mostly got as an industry, people mostly got what they wanted, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I think everyone was just really hoping for something.
Generally.
Now that it's there, I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm one of those people. I was just hoping for something. Let's just keep it moving, keep it rolling.
Keep it moving, keep it rolling. And and I've said this point a lot of times, I think, it is good that we have some clarity now. What that actually means for the industry. I don't really know. I think broadly it'll be positive. I think a lot of people, sometimes it's always a case of you need to be a little bit careful what you wish for, because for some people who've been like, yeah, we finally got this thing, it's not going to be as good for them as they kind of think it's going to be for them.
That'll be most of the cases, yeah.
Having regulation means you've got extra responsibilities. Extra responsibilities means extra cost. You've got to import new skills. You've got to change up the way you do business to make sure you're compliant, all this kind of stuff. It's not like, for example, in the DCE world, so digital currency exchange, to use an acronym, like if you're going to get an AFSL to provide a digital asset platform, and you want your AFSL, it's going to come along with, like I said, some extra stuff. It's not like applying for like an AUSTRAC license or something where you just kind of register and go, hey, we're good to go now. They go, no, your business needs to be up to spec.
Yep, there's a lot more that goes.
There's a lot more that goes on to it. You need people who are responsible, and you need to have certain, you've got obligations now.
Yeah, which you like. I mean,
And
people.
a lot of people are like, oh shit, I didn't really want that. I just wanted it so I could stay with regulated, so I could get a bank account or something.
Yeah,
Like, you know what I mean? No, it's not. No. That's this.
People didn't quite, I think those kind of people probably haven't thought it through enough. Yeah, probably actually the big thing to acknowledge is there will be a lot of quote unquote bad that comes with the good. The key thing to get out of it is clarity means you know what you can and can't do, whereas opposed to guessing what you can and can't do. And, you know, no one's going to create business on high amounts of risk. So, you know, de-risking things is like the key here. Even if you go, you know what, actually I didn't like the outcome of that. Well, knowing the outcome is better than not knowing the outcome. And I think the person that I think resonated the most, definitely, I guess, shout out to the local Harry Dell is he always posts, especially with some of the regulatory clarity around tax. He's definitely always pushing the narrative. You know, demystify, put the rules out there, and we'll play by the rules. Good, love the rules. Some people will lose, some people will win, but rules are better than none, which is historically what we've sat with.
Yeah, at least we know what the outline of the court is now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. And therefore, yeah, just keep the ball rolling on that, and then we can deal with the bad later if we don't like it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, then I need to digress into a few more on the more of a personal side. So you're a conference veteran, right? What goes on tour stays on tour. But I'd love to hear some stories from some of the stuff you've seen over the past few years. You know, some of the good events, some of the bad. What's kind of tickled you? What's been the best events, and what have you enjoyed? Why were they the best events? What have you enjoyed about them?
Yeah, so I think crypto events especially are very polarizing, and you do get it painted differently depending on where the market's at. Because when the market's real good, the conventions are real good and real entertaining, and conversations really good. And when the market's down, the conversations and I guess the direction of where you have to take it changes dramatically. So I think you know, probably if I would just say, like, as an example, last year, because last year was a roller coaster, up down. I think my favorite functions are still the ones close to F1. I've got to be honest, that seems to always have the most buzz, and doesn't matter where the market's at. You kind of got like this baseline. Everyone's there. People are there. If the market's up, they're more for blockchain and the likes. And if the market's down, well, I guess they at least get to go to the F1 afterwards, so they're pretty happy. So those always end up having a lot of good, solid discussions.
Well, you are a car guy. You mentioned before.
Yeah, I'm a car guy.
Talk us through your cars, man. What are you currently driving? And what would you like to have?
Oh, yeah. So no, I'm a car guy. The uninitiated, I'm the kind of car guy that just spends all my money modifying cars.
Oh, right.
So I don't have anything crazy special. I currently do drive a BRZ, but it has 60 grand put into it at the moment. Pretty much done everything that I would like to do. And then historically, I've kind of just built a car and then sold it.
So what kind of mods are we talking?
We're talking about everything without cracking open the engine. And generally, I kind of stop at that point. But yeah, forced induction. It's got a full aero kit on it. I don't like to cut up the body, so it doesn't have a wide body kit on it. But replace everything else in and around it. So nothing stays stock unless there's a really good reason to stay stock. I just have fun with it and then just sell the car and then just buy the next thing.
All right. What's your what are you building towards? Once you flip it to the elf car, the degree where you're like, you know what, I can't bring myself to touch this new car. I'm just perfect the way it is. I've been dreaming about it forever.
Nothing's ever perfect.
You'd get like a Ferrari or something like that and still modify it?
Yeah, actually, I probably would. That's actually the problem. So look, let's just be happy that I'm not in that stage, because I'd probably.
You'd offend every car guy in the world.
Yeah, I would. I probably would.
I'm not a car guy, by the way, so I'm not equipped to properly ask these questions.
Yeah, look, I'm the kind of guy. I don't like to pick favorites. I really like. I think probably actually goes with like the car guy and the tech in me. I'm very like agnostic. People are like, what brand do you like the most? I'm not a Ferrari guy. I'm not a Lambo guy. I'm not like a McLaren guy. Like,
I mean, if you're a Lambo guy, that would be too cliche.
Yeah, exactly. So, but like, I genuinely like look at like what is the cool thing about it, and like a lot of the time, like people are like, oh, you're such a McLaren guy. I'm like, no, like they're cool cars. Like what they're doing is really, really sick. But no, I'm pretty like agnostic to all these kinds of brands. I don't go with the hype. I just like go like whoever's came up with like the most cutting edge, like crazy stuff. I'm like, God.
Do you need to modify the look or the sound or the performance? What do you, what? Or all of them together?
All of the above. That's a loaded question. But yeah, like I think I like, as an example, the suspension currently on my car is it completely changes the dynamic of the suspension. And the idea is I've taken something that is boring on the car, that's cool, like it's cool in its own right, and then made it really cool and interesting, and now I can tweak it and play around with it. It's completely modifiable end to end. I'm not the guy that bought suspension because sick, it's lowered. I bought it now because yes, I can tune it and then take it to a track and then mess around with it. It's the tech guy in me that does it. So generally speaking, when I buy something, I'm like, oh, it's done something that like my car could do this before. So yeah, that's kind of what I do. It's like it's really the tinkering, I guess, that I enjoy about it, and I just like cars, so therefore I tinker with the cars.
Okay, which car were you most proud of? Describe what it was. What'd you do to it? Where'd you get it to?
It would all probably be around the exact same cars that I've historically owned. I always just pick a 2-door coupe that's naturally aspirated and just touch every single part of it. Probably would even lean back to the first car I tried to build was an 86 back in 2014, and then somehow ran around buying budget parts for like $300 because I couldn't afford much more than that. And then I think about it, I'm like, how did that car not just fall apart when I was learning how to put it all together? Because I bought the car, I was like, I'm going to learn how to modify cars, and was every single step of the way involved. And I guess back then I was young enough to think I was immortal, and I didn't even think about if I torqued the bolts on the wheels down properly. I just did it and assumed it was all good. And
how many defect notices have you received?
I've actually never been defected once. You've
just never been caught?
No, I've been pulled over a fair amount of times. I think I'm probably just respectful and nice, and we'll talk to the police officer that's normally involved. Haven't been defected once. That's the wood to touch. But between you and me, I probably am due for one at some point in time, but we'll deal with that.
Well, when demerits are put on the blockchain, we'll be able to verify that.
You know what? There's probably a right that it should be. Fair enough. It is what it is.
Yeah, okay. No, that's fascinating. All right, well, what we've not covered, we've been running for nearly an hour, almost 2 hours.
Yeah, rolling with it.
We're having good. Is there anything else we have yet to cover? Or have you all talked out?
No, I mean, I could talk for hours on different things. I tried to even force myself to finish a topic fast and come back again because I could. Tech is probably the one thing I will say, because this is the thing that will get the most polarizing discussions on is people are both excited and scared about where tech is at the moment, and as a result, like the atmosphere feels like really weirdly tentative because you have like excitement and fear all in the same thing. There's no reason why anyone should be fearful at all. Everyone right now is the most exciting time in technology ever. We should be careful about what you do. That's where I will acknowledge some fear, but the fear is like it's okay. Like people smart enough around to figure it out if you keep your eyes open. But like everyone has the opportunity, literally, and it sounds like a weird thing to say, but everyone can do whatever they want, however they want, now. And it's only going to become more accessible throughout, especially this year. It'll skyrocket this year, and for the following years it'll just become easier and easier and easier to do that concept. So we're finally probably capable of empowering everyone to break the wheel per se, or the grind that we're slowly, like as an economy, locked ourselves into. So that should excite everyone. Everyone should go, okay, how do I keep my eye on this? How do I dedicate a part of myself to go, you know what, I'm going to allow the door to slowly open, stay ajar for doing what I want to do. And then once the door is cracked open, your mind starts to expand. You start to train that muscle of creativity and just getting into it. That's like the one thing that I'll say is don't be scared. Now's the best time, full stop, ever. And if anyone ever thinks otherwise or is a little bit scared of the outcome, my DMs are open.
Well, we have painted a very utopian future here for what technology can bring. And hey, look, I'm on board with it. I broadly agree. But surely you've got to have one doomsday scenario. When does Skynet launch the missiles against us? Is there a reality in which this technology turns fully dystopian and we go, oh man?
Oh, there is. I think the funny part of me says that the people that would allow that to happen, or the people that are actually empowered to do that, are greedy enough to ensure it would never happen because they don't want to lose control. So I actually have like this weird comfort.
That's a fascinating
weird
view.
comfort in it that could it happen? Yeah, I actually think it probably could. But the people that protect us are so greedy that they will protect us just for their own interests. So be it.
Hey, that's a fascinating viewpoint. All right. Well, that's fascinating. We've had a fascinating conversation today. So, Joshua, thank you for stopping by. Labrys, we have discussed let's give a quick summary of everything we've discussed today. What have we discussed? We've gone from AI to art, into blockchain, into modded up cars, into conferences, into the utopian world that technology potentially can bring us. Yeah. But also some good news in that maybe there's just enough self-interest in the world that the bad people just would never let the technology go bad.
Yeah.
Which
hopefully.
That's fascinating. Well, all right. Well, importantly, for the builders out there, that in fact doesn't really matter now whether you're in the Web3 space or whether you're in TradFi. Everyone should really be getting in touch with you guys to work out how they're going to build their, digital infrastructure for the future.
Yeah, like I think the thing I'll always say is people normally come into our office and we speak to a lot of people that will actually never work with us or don't ever work with us, and I don't dislike that at all. I actually love to talk creativity. I love to talk about building business, creating business, designing things. That's what I'm passionate about. I've built a business around that passion entirely. So yeah, whenever anyone is just thinking about like, how do I, open the doors to being an entrepreneur, building business, or even just innovating in general, we're just there. And, if it makes sense for us to work together, then it makes sense for us to work together. And that philosophy has carried us through to just having some great partnerships, great people, clients or not, that we stick around with.
Well, we know the best way to get in touch with you guys is to look on the website and see who's going to be at what event and just rock up and start talking to you.
True.
But if they're not going to be in that event, how do we get in touch?
Yeah, look, the boring and direct way is Labrys.io. Our website is directly the easiest way. There's a contact form on there. Alternatively, our contact details for individuals are on that website you mentioned. My photo is on there with my Telegram, my email, my LinkedIn. Same with all my other guys that are like convention or public facing. So feel free to go to the website, reach out directly, or just go through the contact form. And normally we jump on a call and have a chat.
Amazing, do it. Thanks, Josh. That was great.
No worries. Thanks for your time.
Anytime. We'll see you at the next. What's the next event we're going to go
to? Probably the DECA one that's coming up. I think it's like a month away.
I will see you there.
Yeah, easy.
Thanks. All right, good. Hey, that was awesome, man.
Yeah.